a judge has now blocked the release of any records or death records pertaining to Celeste Rivas Hernandez for the time being. And this was pretty much breaking news on Monday, November 24th. It is now Tuesday, November 25th. And guys, I feel like I kind of called this. I'm really rarely right about a lot of stuff, but I'll tell you why I called this and why I do 100% believe that the medical examiner's office and the LAPD are not on the same page here. So let me pull up the announcement from Monday. Let me share this tab. And then I want to share with you some findings from a very renowned forensic death investigator that I spoke with, Joseph Scott Morgan. He's the host of the Body Bags podcast. He's amazing. I asked him some questions just about the decomp process of a body as it pertains to freezing and all of that. So just a trigger warning. I've been trying to read some of the comments as well on the podcast and everything. And I also want to address something. I'm all over the place. I have so much to say right now. I want to address something else because I've seen some comments where people are like, well, where do you stand? You were saying this a few days ago and blah, blah, blah. You're totally right. I am learning about this case just as you guys are. I mean, I obviously have my sources and I don't report on everything that my sources tell me, of course, because a lot of it is off the record. But the purpose of off the record, or for me anyway, is to guide my reporting in a way. So when I am telling you guys what I know, I can keep certain things in the back of my mind that were told to me. Now, because this case is so complex and everybody seems to have sources these days and there's leaks every other day, I do feel like, yes, many of us have gone back and forth because of what's been reported and what's being said. And it's hard to ignore all of it. Whether you think TMZ is credible or not, it's hard to ignore what they're saying. This information came from somewhere. And Harvey Levin is an attorney. So he does have, he knows the law. He knows, I guess, what to do and what not to do. So they're not going to put out information that just came from nobody or came out of thin air. It came from somebody. So, I'm trusting that they vet their sources. But yes, this is an investigation, ongoing, open, and things are going to change. So opinions are going to change. So I'm doing the best I can to bring facts. And if I'm speculating on something, I say it. I'm speculating, I don't know, etc. But let's pull this up to the medical examiner's statement on Celeste's case. This is her case number here. And I'll tell you why I think they're at odds, because there is a quote, and it's from the chief medical examiner, Dr. Odie Upco. And so, I'll get to the quote. But first, it just says, at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on ME case number 2025-14252, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with this case, including the cause and manner of death and ME report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. Now, this is what the chief medical examiner had to say. Quote, the department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. End quote. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15th, 2025, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order timeline and law enforcement investigation into this death, please contact the LAPD. Okay, so it's very clear. They are not happy about this hold. And I think that, I mean, we didn't know that the LAPD tried to put a hold on the case in September. And, you know, that was September 15th. Well, on September 29th, that's when they made their statement saying, well, we don't know if there's any criminal culpability beyond concealment of a body. And by the way, that's where I started to pedal back a little bit. And I was like, well, wait a second. I mean, if she was cut up, wouldn't we see an abuse of a corpse? There wouldn't be anything beyond concealment and abuse of a corpse. But they didn't say that. Or maybe that's just too connected to proving a potential homicide. Maybe if they shared that with the public, you know, we would be speculating even more than we already are, which is, you know, not possible at this point. So maybe they're just like, you know what? We've had it. There's clearly information that needs to be told to the public, because let's also remember that the public plays such a huge hand sometimes in helping police solve these cases, especially when so much is unknown. So I found that to be really interesting. They are clearly not happy about this. And I think, yeah, maybe that's where some of these leaks came from. And they got this court order on Friday, and the leak about the freezer was on Saturday. So somebody was like, oh yeah, court order this. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if they said that. That's me talking. But I want to just quickly, pull up my article in LA Mag, where I have some great information from Joseph Scott Morgan. And again, trigger warning, you know, I deal with a lot of these cases. Obviously, Joe Scott is a forensic death investigator. He does this for a living. He's performed thousands of autopsies, you know, more. So we talk, and he, even more so than me, talks about this stuff very matter-of-factly, but it's very tragic, very disturbing. And I don't think anybody should really ever get desensitized to this. So just forgive me for just speaking so bluntly about it. Let me go down. So I'll read part of this to you. You know, amid the reports suggesting that the teen's remains may have been frozen before discovery, host of Body Bags podcast and associate professor of applied forensics at Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan tells Los Angeles that such findings require scientific confirmation and should not be assumed without lab analysis. Morgan noted that freezing and thawing can create distinct cellular patterns that would only be detectable microscopically. Quote, you have to take tissue samples to look at it. The cells begin to contract and you lose that space as a result of freezing. There is microscopic evidence of freezing that goes on. And so basically the medical examiner's office would not be able to say such a thing or leak such a thing to TMZ without having done extensive testing. And that's where I'm like, okay, I think that they did. And I think that they gave some information. And at this point, you can't give information like that without, again, having done the testing. So he also goes on to say that when it comes to the dismemberment, and I don't think we're going to know this until the case and the crime has been solved, but he said you're making a very specific tool mark on the surface of the bone. So the bone ends will indicate whether, you know, a certain tool was used. So we should be able to know, based on their findings, if the body was dismembered or it actually just fell apart due to decomp. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say it like that. It's awful. You know, Celeste was a young girl, does not deserve to be talked about like this at all. So I'm sorry. But the last thing I want to say about this is he did say, obviously, that if she was frozen at a certain point, yes, that would slow down the decomp process. It would stop while she was frozen, but then it would restart once she began to thaw, which would have been in the Tesla. So any report stating that she was partially frozen upon arriving at the Emmy's office, I would say that would be false based on the fact that we know she was sitting in the Tesla for months. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with everything as of right now. Again, I do work to bring you guys factual information based on experts. I try so hard not to go down the rumor mill. But the other day, when it came to the second suspect and I was kind of clipping the comments, I couldn't help it. I had to share because it was so interesting. And also, other comments have said, oh no, Neo didn't move the Tesla. It was David's bodyguard. I had not heard that before. That is all rumor, as well as the second suspect, guessing who that is. Rumor, but, worth mentioning here because everybody, again, everyone seems to have a lot of different information, and I read it all and I parse through it all. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and for being here as we watch this awful case unfold. Justice for Celeste and her family. We're praying for you guys, and I will see you all tomorrow right here on Los Angeles Magazine, our daily crime news and scandals podcast. I'm Lauren Conlin. Again, thanks for